Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Living Life Naturally. I am so excited to have you here today. Laurie is here with me, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her today. So, Laurie Bertoni helps entrepreneurial women who are struggling or feeling stuck to break through or heal what's holding them back from living their best life. And I love that. So Laurie has powerful NLP modalities and tools to help people transform and shift their mindset and empower them to tap into their potential in business and live their authentic life. So deep down, Laurie knew she had what it took to inspire and motivate people. It was after a divorce, second marriage, and trying to grow a business that she discovered how to tap into her personal power and climb back up. And then she began to breathe new life into her business and passion again. So Laurie created the Hustle and Flow method, a personal transformation program to uplevel women's lives so she could pass on and share the exact tools she used to get herself through the toughest times of her life and back up to the top of her game where she is today. So Laurie shines her light on people to brighten their way and highlights their magnificence, which I love again. And Laurie knows everyone has what it takes to live a more fulfilling and satisfying life in whatever stage of life they're at. And her mission is to work with those people who are ready to make that change, take responsibility, and invest in living their best life. So welcome, Laurie. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so emotional. You're reading that. I'm like, oh, I hope people felt that. It just, it's been a ride.
Right. So where are you joining us from today?
So I am in Barrie, Ontario, Canada, which is an hour north of Toronto for, anybody who's not living in Canada. But yeah, and so, still a little chilly spring here, but I have my cherry blossom inspiration behind me to be like, it's coming, it's coming.
So tell us a little bit about, I've read all of this, but how did you get started in this?
So in 2014, I was like in the throes of, I was a fitness instructor, personal trainer, so really into the health and wellness industry. But my clients were bumping up. They weren't getting the results. They weren't fully committed. They were paying, but they weren't getting the results. And I knew that they had mindset issues, but I didn't know how to teach them that. I didn't know how to, I knew that, but I didn't know how to give that to them. So I knew I needed coaching. I knew I needed to upgrade my skills and tools a little bit. And at the same time, I was kind of going through a difficult time in my marriage. And so I came across this weekend workshop. It was called Fast Forward Your Future. And I remember asking the lady, I'm like, will this help my marriage? And she said, yes. So I asked my husband at the time, I said, maybe we should go to this weekend workshop. And he was like, no, you go, I'm good. So I did. I went. That weekend changed my life. I was introduced to the world of coaching and the modality of NLP, which is the worst name ever, but it's like neuro-linguistic programming. And it was really taught me how I could change and transform my clients' mindset. And so learning all of that, that's what allowed me to step into my power, because I had to go through the process myself first before I could coach other people, which was the best. And so me going through my own breakthrough and my own personal transformation so that I could teach others is what really allowed me to, just step into my power, then my self-worth, my deservingness. So that marriage didn't last too long after that, unfortunately. But now where I'm at now, I got remarried. I took a second leap I took another kick at the can. And realized that a lot of those same issues were coming up secondary for a second time in my life. And so I started coaching people to go through relationships I retired fitness because I didn't want to stand over people doing push-ups anymore. So I retired fitness, got more into the mindset, lifestyle coaching, relationships, really helping people take responsibility. But I didn't enjoy that as much because, you know, in relationships, people really like to point the finger and blame the other person. So people weren't willing. They're like, no, he needs to change. I was like, okay, I'm out. You guys are not, you guys are not willing participants. So I'm like, and so I jumped ship. And the irony is my current husband, he's also equally trained in the same modalities. Like he's a coach and a master of NLP practitioner as well. So we joined forces. So, and during that time, I was struggling in my business, struggling in my second marriage yet again. And I fell into another program that was all about tapping into my feminine power. It was all about, I was too much in my masculine, trying to grow my business, you know, trying to control my life, trying to take control of my children, but in a masculine way. I wasn't tapping into my natural divine feminine power of just, you know, being. And when I tapped into that, that's when everything really shifted. That's when I stepped into my power as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a leader, as an advocate in my community, like even through all this COVID crap, holding that space for people. And that's been the most powerful for me. And this is what we want to teach. So we take the best of, because we're duality, right? We're both masculine and feminine. So So as success-driven and ambitious women, we really tap into that masculine part of ourselves, but the power is in the feminine. And so when we can really learn to tap into that power of our divine feminine, where we can relax and nurture ourselves and just be, so that we can, you know, receive all the deliciousness life has to offer in our business, our marriage, our relationship, not necessarily marriage, but, and with our families. But that's when life just, you know, really gets sweet, that sweet spot. And it's ebbing and flow between that. And it's, you know, it's a hustle and it's a flow. So this is where the concept of our program came up. So we're working together to, you know, because he's a wonderfully nurturing, supportive man. Like women love him. They're always like, hey, anytime you're ready to let him go, I got women lined up. So I'm like, okay, I think I got something good here. So, you know, it's really just working together to offer women that, you know, support so that they can, you know, have their best life and have it all.
So I think when women get into that midlife stage, everything is kind of out of balance for them, or they're asking themselves, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? My kids have gone. And I think at that point, it's a wonderful opportunity for a woman to stand back and think about, what is it that I want? Who is it that I am? So how at that point do you talk to women about their feminine versus their masculine power? I mean, how do they know that they're standing in either one or the other?
So those are my women, those are my people. I love that demographic of people because, you know, that's where I was at. And so how you know is because you're stuck. And when you're too much in your feminine, you're too much in your head. You're trying to solve everything logically. You're not having any fun. You're not tapping into your desires. You're not self-caring. You're not receiving, you know, you're not asking for help. You're just complaining. You're in a state that we call affect, where you're blaming, complaining, justifying, feeling sorry for yourself. So you're all of these things, and you're looking for external solutions, but the answers are within. And so when we stop, and here's the other thing, this is the best part, is that I was in all these business programs and they were so masculine that I was just like, and then when I took this program, which was all about the feminine, had nothing to do with business, it was all personal, it was all about me, had nothing to do with business, my business grew. So this is how I know that when we get out of our head and we start to tap into our body, our emotions, our feelings, our needs, our wants, our desires, our pleasures, everything opens up. We become magnetic. It's like our partners want us more, our clients, you know, want to give us more. our children want to be with us more is because we become these desirable, magnetic, powerful beings, these nurturers that we're caring for ourselves. And then all of a sudden it just all starts to flow. So when you're stuck in your head and you're trying to figure crap out, that's when you're doing more. You're like, I got to do more. I need to do more. I need to do more. I'm telling you now, no, you need to stop and you need to be. You need to take a break. And this is what I love about the hustle and flow is because if we're too much in the divine feminine, let's say we are, when you go away on vacation, have you ever been away on a 2-week vacation where you're like, okay, this is way too long. Like I need to get back to, reality, right? And it's like, when you go on vacation, it's like it takes 2 days to shut your brain off, to really wind down. And then you're like having the time of your life. Even so, let's say 7-day vacation, 2 days it takes you to wind down, 3 days you're like in bliss, doing nothing, just laying on the beach, no cares in the world. And then all of a sudden, that you got to go back home. And so you start to think, oh, I got to pack. And we start to rev back up. We start to get back into what we're going to be doing when we get home. Right? That's exactly the same thing. That's what hustle and flow is. It's learning how to slow down to enjoy the sweets of life, and then gearing back up to get back into working and planting seeds and taking action and doing and organizing and doing all those things. And then getting it to a point where you're like, okay, before burnout hits, let's be very clear. So if you're burnt out, you missed the exit ramp. Like, you know what I mean? You totally missed the exit ramp. So it's recognizing where you're tense and tight and crabby and cranky. And it's not just the time of the month. You're just bitchy all the time. Like that's a good indication that you need to get into flow, that you need to tap into your feminine, that you need to go and have some fun, that you need more than just a massage. You need an orgasm. Like you need something to release this pressure. And it's self-induced. We do it to ourselves. We're like, we want it, we want it, we want it, we want it, we want it. And then, we put ourselves on this, how we think it has to come to us. Like we have to work hard and grind. And I'm like, no, women don't have to work hard and grind. That's men's job. That's a masculine mentality. Women have to get into the being and receiving mode. So you got to be duality. You got to work. So this is like, the work hard, play hard, but it doesn't have to be work hard to the point of exhaustion and play hard to the point where, you need a vacation after you're playing, right? We all need a vacation after vacation, right? Because you played hard.
Right.
You played so hard because you're so used to working so hard that it's extremes. So when you're overly extreme in both areas is when it's just a check. It's self-awareness. If that's the best way, is like really becoming super aware that when I get overly stressed and I start freaking out, I'm like, I need a break. Even in the middle of conversation of my husband, we're having a heated discussion. I'm like, and I'm out. I check out. I'm like, I'm done. We're arguing. I don't want to fight. You know what? We need a break. You go this way. I go this way because we're in lockdown right now in Ontario. So we can't even go anywhere. You go to this room, I'm going to this room, like we'll come back and talk later. Like, let's just do something else. And I'll go and I'll do a card reading. I'll go for a walk. And this is in anything, in my business, in my relationships. Anytime I feel like overwhelmed or crabby, cranky, bitchy, I need a timeout. It's giving yourself permission to have a timeout and get back to me so that I can be a better listener the next time I have a conversation with my husband. So uber self-awareness is really what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think that women have a really hard time with that in general, being self-aware, and especially when you get to midlife, because you spent your whole life doing for your kids, doing for your husband, going out to work, and then all of a sudden things stop and it's like, so what do I do now?
Well, because we're burnt out. And so when we're burnt out, we start to look back and be like, okay, people, so when we're burnt out, we're like, oh, we need to set boundaries. We forgot to set boundaries. We need to, but nobody taught us how to be. They just
Right.
taught us what we need to do. You need to find a good husband, a good provider, get a good job, have some kids, get a house, get a dog, get a car, get a la 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 la. Should. We're shooting all over ourselves. And then it's like, but nobody taught us how to be. Nobody taught us how to
Right.
ask for help, because we need help. But when people even offer, like, let me come and help you, we're like, no, it's okay, don't worry about it, I got it. We're like, one of my coworkers and colleagues is like, Lori, it's like the curse of the cape. You know, like every woman wears this superwoman cape, but you know, like, take the cape off. You don't have to wear the cape 24/7. You know, and there's so many other things. So it does come from programming. It does come from not being taught how to receive and ask for, and to give ourselves permission. So my job is to give everybody permission to do whatever the frig that they want. So you have permission, you have permission, you have permission, you all have permission. And because we don't give ourselves permission, we're waiting for somebody else, and usually men, to give us permission to spend money. And, you know, or we have these meltdowns and they're like, you need to go through this. They tell us what we need because we're a mess, right? So everyone externally is telling us what we need, when really what we need is just check in with ourselves and ask ourselves, what do we need? What do we want? Women don't even know. They have no idea. No one ever sat down with us. And so here I am with kids. I got 2 girls, 12 and 14. And I'm like, okay, how do I start teaching them, you know, to figure this stuff out now? Number one, I have to lead by example, right? So number one, I have to be like, okay, guys, like, mommy needs to work from this time to this time. And then I'm lucky. You know, it cost me everything, but it was the best investment I ever made, was to create the life that I wanted to live. The purpose was for my children, to be available to them anytime, anywhere, no excuses, and still make money, and still, like, you know, I'm very, very lucky, and I want to teach other women how they can do that too. But, you know, when I want to be a role model for my kids, so they're my why, they're my purpose. And everybody has that. So if you're a woman, and it doesn't matter how old your kids are, you can start anytime. You want to see your daughter have a better life, you have to live that life for her. You have to show her how to live that life. You have to show her how to self-care. You have to show her how to take a break. You have to show her how to set boundaries with people. You have to show her how to have a hard conversation. And I'm kind of going through that right now with my own kids right now. They're 14, so they're experimenting, they're curious, right? Like, so she's doing stuff and social media and all these things, and I'm like, oh my God, freaking out. Like, how do I navigate through all of this and show her, you know, how she can do this with her daughters, because it was never modeled to me, you know. So it's constantly this, you know, but just as long as, and most women, you know, are trying to be their best self. No one's just trying to be the shittiest version of themselves ever. Like, we're always trying to be the best version of ourselves anytime we can. And so just in knowing that, I know that women are open and looking for solutions, and just to let them know that they are out there. They are totally out there. You just have to say yes and give yourself permission to, you know, and the self-worth and deservingness to say yes to it, because the universe is conspiring with you. They hear you. They see everything that you're going through. God, universe, source, creator, like whatever higher power, you know, you work with. Or if you don't, you know, maybe that's the deal. Like, you need to connect to a higher source or higher power to co-create, like, your whatever it is that you're looking for, because all the ideas are coming to you. All the solutions are coming to you in your inbox, in your, you know, Facebook, like, they're all there. You just got to say yes, because you're worthy and deserving of it. So, you know, there's that part too.
So how do you teach women? And of course, obviously, we don't want you to give away your whole business, but give women an easy tip on how they would connect to their inner self, because a lot of them don't know how to connect.
Okay, I'm going to give you the easiest everything. So I call this my 5-minute pleasure practice, which means every day, first thing in the morning, You have to allow, and it can take 5 minutes and it can take as long as you want, a minimum of 5 minutes, even 2 minutes. If you've ever done EFT tapping,
Yes.
that could be something. So it's doing something simple for you, 5 minutes where you are doing something that you desire and that gives you pleasure, right? So whatever that can be, even if it means checking your phone first thing, because everyone's like, don't check your phone first thing in the morning. I'm like, if that gives you pleasure and joy, darn tootin', check that phone first thing in the morning. If you just want to lie in bed and just, you know, revel in the glorious clean sheets, do that. If it's, you know, self-pleasure, do that. If it's partnered pleasure, do that. If it's just, you know, having that beautiful cup of coffee, like whatever it is. So the thing is that we feel that we should have to do anything. You shouldn't have to do anything. You get to choose. So choose 5 minutes for yourself every day. And this is where we fill our cup. This is how we fill our cup. Not doing the things that we have to do, but actually giving yourself the permission and the choice to choose to do something for yourself that gives you joy and pleasure. If it's going to give you pleasure to eat a piece of cake for breakfast, eat a frigging piece of cake for breakfast. Because once you do that, you're going to get your butt to the gym. Once you do that, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, now I can take action and do something productive, right? Because productive is a masculine energy. The feminine energy is pleasure, desired, emotion. So do things that make you feel good. And if it just happens to be this morning that, you know, you get up late and you're on the go, that some point during the day, you stop and be like, oh, I need to do that 5 minute pleasure thing that Lori was talking about. So I have one resource I want to give you is a tapping resource. So that's EFT, and that calms your nervous system and that gets you from chaos to calm, like literally in 10 seconds, is to connect with your womb, your power source. And that would be literally if you're sitting in your chair. If you've ever done that yoga pose where you're sitting cross-legged and you're doing like rounds like that. So literally, if you could sit in your chair and just circle where you can feel your sits bones on your chair, you're going to activate your power source in less than 5 minutes. And when you do that, all of a sudden, your vibration raises, your heart temperature, your core temperature raises, you get flushed because you're activating pleasure points in your body. Massage, self-massage, I could go on and on. So I would love to recommend a book, which was a huge life and game changer for me, A Reclamation, and it's by Regina Thomas Hauser. I'll actually put a link in the group with your permission so people can just click it and order it through Amazon. I downloaded it through Audible. Best book I've read to date that has taken my life and business to the next level. Really, that was a great resource for me to tap into my divine feminine power, and just learn more about how to do that and how to stand in that. And it's awkward. I think this is the biggest learning that was for me in terms of being a woman and not being aware of that potentiality. Nobody taught me that. It was such an eye opener that that's what broke me open. It was like something that I was just like, this makes so much sense. And when I implemented it, everything improved. So I'm like, well, if it works for me, it's got to be able to work for everyone, right? Any woman. So this is the more I introduce it to my clients, like we're talking like breakthroughs on top of breakthroughs on top of breakthroughs where they're so grateful. Like, so when I created the hustle and flow method, it was because the clients that I was working with at the time were coming to their end. Like, you know, I do 8-week programs, 12-week programs. And so after they've done all these programs, they're like, what now, Lori? I'm like, yeah, I don't even know. So I had to come up with a next level program, which is how I came up with the Hustle and Flow program, because women weren't getting enough of it. They were like, we want more, we want more. And so now the program that I created was to hustle and flow, like to grow their business, and tap into their divine feminine simultaneously, so they can literally achieve work-life balance daily, not through, and they're held accountable weekly. Like every week I'm like, what'd you do this week? Like, did you, if they worked too much this week, it's like, okay, this week you have to play a little bit more. And they are just scaling leaps and bounds. Like the first session, we've only been doing this for 2 or 3 weeks. It's a brand new program, and they're already like, Lori, this is so amazing. I'm like, wow, I really finally like tapped into something really special here.
So where would people find you?
They can find me on Facebook. I have a private Facebook group called Empowered Living, which I sent you the link in the email, so you can share that. Don't go to my website because it's a mess. So just find me on Facebook. Empowered Living. Lori Bertoni. Jacqueline Coaching is our business or company name. And that's really the best way. You can find me on Instagram at Lori Bertoni Coach, I think, where I share lots of tips and tools. My Facebook group is where you can find lots of trainings, and that's all, as we go through the new program and I start adding new things, like we touch things on procrastination and wasting time. And, these are the biggest, problems that I think success-driven, ambitious women face, is because they're really productivity driven. And that if they waste 5 minutes in social media, you can get sucked down that rabbit hole, right?
Right.
There's so much guilt and shame that if they waste time, that they have to, work 10 times as hard, right? Because they feel guilty and shame for taking a well-deserved break. We're not taking enough breaks. Women need to take more breaks throughout the day. Like work an hour, take a break for an hour. Like you really need to get in touch with your emotions. It's not just about do, working. You have to have some flexibility. So if you're like, I can't today, it's full of clients, or I can't just work an hour and take a break. Okay, work a full day, but then transition into the evening where it's like you really detach. And if you can't, this is where the program comes into the transformation aspect. If you feel like you can't do something, you have a limiting belief. There is something deep within you, a root cause to that's blocking you from achieving the success that you want. And, I do this and I offer people free discovery calls so that they can, figure out what's at the root. But if you feel you can't do something because of this, and this, I'm like, full stop. There's a limiting belief here, because I'm here to show you that you actually can. We got to figure out a way. We got to heal what's holding you back, maybe from the past. Maybe you need to just, release that limiting belief. It's tied to something that's not serving you, old programming from your mom, dad, aunt, uncle, generations behind, that passed down, that work hard, play hard kind of mentality, or that you have to work hard, you have to put your family first, or whatever it is, whatever you feel it is that you can't do. I'm here to tell you, can't is a limiting belief. And so if you want to, there's a way.
Great. That's a great way to finish out. So I will put all of your information in the show notes, and I will also put the link to that book in the show notes if you send that to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I can send you all the infos.
Great.
And ways in which you can get in touch with me. And, anybody who has just a general question, anybody who feels like triggered by this, like, then there's some growth there to be done for sure, because, the stuff that I do is triggering, because I go deep. We go into the limiting beliefs. We go into the unconscious mind. We go where no conscious therapists go, because that's where we release and become free. And then we can do all stuff. So super excited to share with you guys. So any questions you guys have, feel free to reach out to me.
It's awesome. I really appreciate you spending your time here with us today, Laurie.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity, Lynn. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have an awesome day.
You too.